Good morning, everyone. If you're watching this live right now, I normally don't go live unless it's like a Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, days like that, right? I usually only go live on those days, but I'm making this video due to I'm going live right now due to the video I had made yesterday. And that video was more or less addressing the situation that a gentleman was going through. He's from Cleveland, Ohio. He's currently homeless. He had lost his mother and things like that. And he was talking about he was looking for a wife, this, that, and the third, and saying, "Oh, I can't get none of this," right? But that's not the actual topic of this live. But that's what this live is going to be based on. Now, again, I normally only go live on Sundays and Tuesdays. But this live is really going to be specified for the nonprofits here in Allentown, PA. And I looked into what was actually documented. This may come off as unsolicited advice or anything like that, but this is going to be advice that's going to be neat. Actually, let me leave these on. I can't see the screen for shit. This is going to be advice that's actually going to be needed. I looked into the actual documented things that's been going on with a few nonprofits, and a few of those nonprofits would be Promise Neighborhoods, Family Promise, and Catholic Charities. I've never really had to deal with Family Promise. I've visited Catholic Charities. They have a pretty good organization, but I guess they got some things going on. And we've all heard about Promise Neighborhoods with Eddie getting online and calling them out. And now there's a petition out against them, and it's not being legally investigated with Promise Neighborhoods, but it is, it's a community concern at this point. And I've worked with the owner of Oath, Tommy, as a volunteer for Oath. So I've worked closely with Christina and things like that as well. And it's as of right now, this whole situation with Eddie calling out, Promise Neighborhoods and things like that. It so it bothered me a little bit because I'm like, these are people that are actually helping the community, and everybody's making it seem like they're all in some sort of competition, right? I addressed this before. And like I was saying earlier, I looked into what's actually documented about these nonprofits and where the community data actually exists. So I'm just gonna cut through the bullshit with you guys and give you honest head-on takes about what's working, what isn't, and what they actually need to fix to actually deliver on the mission. So first, let's talk about Promise Neighborhoods. Now, what they're saying about Promise Neighborhoods is that they are doing what they say they are doing is legit. Community wellness, anti-violence focus, youth support, workforce development, and resident-led programming as well. They have even a high charity rate according to financial oversight data, which is over 90% rating and a solid program expense. This is from GiveFreely.com. Now, the reality check here, after I pretty much did a little audit and whatnot, is that some locals feel here that the results aren't visible enough. In other words, there isn't really a campaign going for you guys. There's been no major scandal going on, but the perception of what's being said about Promised Neighborhoods is can and probably has sunk their credibility, if not fairly quickly, if you really want to talk about the whole anti-violence and gun safety thing, right? And this is really being done without showing any measurable reductions in violence tied directly to their interventions. And it seems as if they did suffer a big federal cut in the past, and the new leadership is rebuilding local financial support. So what seems to be needed to improve here, and this is specifically for Promised Neighborhoods, is that the clarity of impact measurement. You can't just talk about your goals. You have to show year over year data that's tied to specific interventions on gun violence when it comes to graduations, employment, etc. Um, Make dashboards public if need be. Show what your actual analytics are. Don't just say it, show it. Show me what you got, pretty much, and do this publicly, especially if you're launching one. And normalize transparency too, because if you're not having that integrity, you're really just pulling the wool over people's eyes. Fundraising events are fine. A lot of people do fundraising events, but you need repeatable. But you need to have this to be repeatable, so you can have that stream coming in that you need. So you aren't at the mercy of grants being cut, or you're not being able to look for the not even just the grants being cut, not even being able to look for the funding that you actually need. So if you actually have these fundraising events going on consistently, you end up coming out a little bit better. Finally, better communication with the community, so the people actually feel the real outcome, not just mission language. You can sit there and say, "Oh, we're gonna end the gun violence," but are you actually getting communication from the community? My best suggestion for something like this would be to go out, conduct interviews in the city with the community, the residents here in the city. You can get their permission, have them sign some sort of waiver, and do interviews with these people in the community and find out what it is about your organization that they like. What is it that stands out to them? Things like that. So up next here would be Family Promise of the Lehigh Valley. Now, I've never worked with them. I never heard of them. This is my first time really hearing about them after I did a little audit on what the nonprofits here in Allentown were really doing. And it seems like they have a clear mission around helping families that are experiencing homelessness. And that's helping them with shelter, case management, uh, addiction, in other words, prevention of addictions and things like that, and even aftercare services. Aftercare services can mean a lot of things. That could be being released from rehabs, halfway homes, reintegrating families together after they get out of these establishments and things like that. And their website does says that they have over 74% of families find stable housing within 6 to 8 weeks, which is a very, very good thing. You don't really hear numbers like that, and when you do, you tend to pay attention. You tend to put that kind of thing under a microscope and watch it a little bit closer. But the thing is, there's no major scandal here. Community feedback online sometimes suggests a misunderstanding about what services are provided, pretty much ergo not helping with the deposits in some cases, let alone it being voluntary, let alone being a voluntary heavy operation in itself. So just like Promised Neighborhoods, what's also needed here is better communication, but better communication when it comes to limitations and the services that they offer. If people expect deposits or housing without employment, you'll have to be able to calculate the complaints that's going to come in. They should make things like what really they should do is make something eligibility. Let's get into that time. Let's get into that. What they should be doing is making things more eligible for things to be crystal clear. Pretty much have a whole roadmap laid out. What else? What else? What else? Same thing with Promised Neighborhoods. Publish outcomes. In other words, whatever you have going on, whatever kind of successes that you guys do have, make that public. Show your wins. Show your successes. If you want to, you can talk about your losses and how that actually helps you developed you into gaining your wins as well. And maybe even partner more tightly with housing providers to fill the gaps too. Like think of security deposits, landlord engagement. What's the word? What's the one thing? Community promise agreements. things like that, right? And push for more flexible funding that allows them to cover things volunteers can't, which would be, again, the deposits, but also transportation and even childcare. And last but not least, we also have here, let's see what we have here last. Uh, frame rate slow. Frame rate slow. I'm not worried about the frame rates at all. I'm not worried about that. Get that out of here. Last but not least, Catholic Charities. Their biggest concern is the immigration services that they do have here. Now, this isn't a full-fledged nonprofit meltdown when it comes to this, but they've paused the immigration services there because the staff person that was in charge of this or that handled this had left, and they haven't filled the role as of yet. They're referring cases to Philadelphia, which is a long trip for local immigrants. I mean, they already just came across seas. Now they go to drive another few hours to a whole nother city. And for immigrants and refugees at that, that gap in itself is very, very wide. And that's a big ass gap when you think about it. And the community needs accessible, accredited help here. And right now, Catholic Charities isn't delivering that service locally. They, like I said before, they're referring people to uh, Philadelphia. Excuse me. So I think what they would need here is to hire an accredited immigration case manager or managers yesterday at that, and deliver possible partnerships with local legal aid and immigration law nonprofits. So when you have things like this, you have staffing gap. You still have a continuity of the service. Uh, even start a community outreach so people know services exist and how to actually access them safely as well. Immigration in itself, help here is low tolerance work, and the mistakes can cost people their status. I've actually seen people get deported. Uh, I'm pretty sure you guys heard of the ICE raids that happened here last year down on 7th Street and a couple other areas here in Allentown as well. But that was mainly probably due to situations such as I just explained here. Now, again, Promised Neighborhoods, just to recap, uh, Promised Neighborhoods looks legit on paper and in ratings, but you can't really take them apart and talk by demanding output over mission language here. Um, for anyone that's really, really talking about advocacy for their cities and stuff like that, you have to press these organizations on how they measure and communicate impact, and call for transparency as well. Uh, Family Promise, they seem to have a tangible success. I'm not going to front, so there's not really much to say about them, but they do need to have a more clarification on scope versus expectations, and partner smarter with housing foundations as well, and landlords too. Uh, Catholic Charities, they really just need operational continuity. They need something to, for lack of a better term, for those who don't know what that really is, not calling you stupid or anything like that, but you would just need something that's more or less feasible when it comes to your SOPs, your standard operating procedures. In other words, have better communications within your team so you know what needs to be done. Uh, what else? What else? What else? Transparent communication. That goes for all these organizations I just mentioned about why services are paused or why the community is giving you guys backlash and how these kind of things are being fixed. Again, this was unsolicited advice. Whether you wanted it or not, you guys needed to hear this shit because the hardest decisions to do is the things you actually need to do. Uh, the best things to do, excuse me, let me rephrase that. The best decisions you can ever make come from the hardest choices you have to decide on. And with that being said, that's going to be the end of this live. yeah, that's gonna be the end of this live, yo. I'm done. I'm going about enjoy my day. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Happy New Year, because I'm pretty sure everybody's going to be hearing Happy New Year's for like the next week or so. So you're hearing a Happy New Year from me. Happy New Year, everybody here in Allentown. And if you're not in Allentown, you're somewhere else watching this live, Happy New Year's to you guys too. All right. But with that being said, that's going to end this live, y'all. Deuces, it's your man Shelby. I'm out, and y'all be easy.